A flying menace.
Good Lord.
An alien swarm. A projectile fish threatening our ecosystem.
We have to stop them before they stop us.
It may look harmless, but it's anything but.
These fish are actually up in your face. This head, solid bone, that's what gets you hurt.
These dangerous foreign species are determined to survive in a hostile takeover. And major American waterways may face total annihilation.
There's no real barrier to stop the fish from here moving into Lake Michigan.
For sportsmen, fishermen, and scientists, it's a race against time to stop an invasive destroyer on a rampage. Man versus explosive river crashers. Hooked. Asian carp invasion. Unwelcome foreign intruders, originally introduced by human hands. Escaped invasive species can turn a native ecosystem into an environmental catastrophe.
Years ago, a fish called the Asian carp was brought to American waters to solve a problem. But the big, hungry, and very prolific fish soon became a major problem itself.
Today, the U.S. faces one of the most alarming aliens ever. It's already here, threatening to decimate one of the Earth's largest waterways, the Mississippi River Basin. And now, these ecosystem invaders are headed towards an even more dangerous territory, the Great Lakes.
Species is rapidly approaching Lake Michigan.
Ravenous, fast breeding. If these alien species colonize the biggest freshwater system in America, they could cause devastation.
Invaded nearly every waterway. Now they threaten the Great Lakes and its $7 billion industry.
As research teams race against time, one of the 21st century's most frightening environmental questions may be contained in a few samples of water.
And the trouble is we keep pushing the limits and we keep finding carp.
The intruder? A fish with a nasty habit. When threatened, it launches like a flying projectile. Can it be stopped? And where is it headed next?
They've took it over. They're not taking it over. They've took it over.
And that has some experts extremely concerned.
It's America versus Asian carp. September 15th, 1999, 225 kilometers from the Great Lakes, Chillicothe, Illinois. Commercial fisherman Orion Briney heads out on the Illinois River. For over 15 years, Orion's worked these waterways. Expecting buffalo fish and catfish, he pulls up his net. Usually brimming with fish, on this day, it's almost empty, but not quite. Orion spots two fish fighting hard against the net, with odd-looking eyes set low on their heads.
What the heck is that? It's awful weird looking. Well, we caught the first one. We pulled it up. We thought we knew what we had. We thought it was like a big lake trout, or because sometimes your water gets real high, you can catch a weird fish or two of some kind. Eyes on the bottom of their head. A little bit of scales on them.
Orion takes one of the mystery fish to a biologist.
What do you think that is? Never seen nothing like it before in my life.
One look, and the scientist knows Orion's catch all too well.
Carp. Carp? Asian carp. Asian carp. Sure ugly, aren't they? No, man.
It's a big-head carp, an unwelcome menace more commonly known as Asian carp, and the first of what may be a thriving colony of ruthless aquatic terminators. Along with its sister species, the silver carp, Orion's big head is considered one of the most dangerous invasive creatures in America. The bad news travels fast.
As soon as
biologists learned that these species had escaped from aquaculture ponds and were showing up in the nets of fishermen, red flags went up for every biologist.
In Orion's river, the invading bighead carp is perfectly designed for a hostile takeover. Able to reach as long as 1.5 meters and weigh as much as 45 kilograms. In their native Asia, they're Darwinian superstars, easily adapting to most rivers, lakes, and ponds. And as they move into U.S. rivers and start aggressively feeding on plankton, they devour the food chain from the bottom up. But where in Asia, natural predators kept these carp in check, the United States has no river contenders up to the challenge. It's a formula for disaster.
The Asian carp have a potential of devastating local fish populations because they're eating this food at the most basic level. It's suggested that they can eat anywhere from 40 to 80% of their body weight in a day.
And it gets worse. In addition to a ravenous appetite, the Asian carp's breeding rates are in the stratosphere. While most fish spawn once a year, Asian carp can spawn up to 3 times a year, producing as many as 2 million eggs. Breeding and feeding faster than any other native fish in the river, the Asian carp obliterates the competition.
The bighead and silver carp are a very scary threat because of their ability to invade an area so quickly. They will kick other fish, our native fish, out in a short amount of time.
But how did they get here? The answer is chilling. Like many invasive species, these dangerous intruders were deliberately brought by human hands. 50 years ago, in the 1960s, Midwest commercial fish farmers and water treatment authorities were looking to solve a problem: algae overgrowth. Their solution? Import an Asian fish species known for devouring algae, the grass carp.
Last summer, 1/3 of Robert Harrell's 70-acre lake was filled with water weeds. Harrell stocked the lake with carp, and his weed problems were practically solved in 2 months.
You can tell they have really done quite well. I believe we put 350 in here, and in just a little time, it was all gone.
It worked so well, a decade later, more catfish farmers fighting fishery overgrowth imported 2 other Asian carp species with the same taste for algae, the bighead and the silver carp. But what seemed like an ideal solution was an ecosystem ticking time bomb. Summer 1993. Torrential thunderstorms pound the American Midwest. 50,000 homes are damaged or destroyed. 1,000 levees fail. The end result is devastating, but there's an even more disastrous consequence. The normally disconnected rivers, lakes, and streams of the Mississippi River Basin flood together, forming one giant bathtub. To a then relatively obscure fish, it's the perfect escape. Captive carp find a path to freedom, riding floodwaters into open waterways, spawning fast and furious, swimming further into rivers and tributaries throughout the Midwest.
Brought to America to suck up algae and then escaped and multiplied, earning the nickname river rabbits.
An unnatural disaster had begun. Now, for the man who first found this terrifying alien species in his own backyard, the fish is freshwater public enemy #1. Soon after his first sighting, Orion watches an ecosystem under siege. The bighead are so much larger and stronger than native fish. None of the local fishermen have nets strong enough to hold the invaders.
The first year or two, I just don't want to fish for them. You can come out here and literally see 40 acres of them. There'd be so many you couldn't even run the motor through them. You start running your motor through it and there'll be red blood behind you. When we went out there, you don't even turn them nets up. It wasn't very long after most of your fishermen quit fishing.
And there's more to this menace. With no natural predators in the Illinois River, the bighead multiply at astronomical rates, taking over and dominating the food chain. While alarmed fish and wildlife agencies try to strategize comprehensive solutions,
They are big, ugly, and abundant.
a nearby processing plant decides to harvest and sell Asian carp as food. In a desperate attempt to save his own livelihood, Orion modifies his gear to stand up to the aggressive invader.
I had the first nets built and I was the first one on them.
Orion once harvested buffalo fish and catfish. Post-Asian carp invasion, the fish have all but disappeared. Orion's only solution? Change his business model. Make the alien species his catch. He recruits his stepson Jeremy and 13-year-old grandson Levi. Yet even with a team, Asian carp catching is challenging.
You know, it's just completely different ball game. You gotta hold more nets, you gotta make bigger nets.
July 9th, 2009, Chillicothe, Illinois. Orion and his two-boat crew head out to capture the invasive carp.
We got fish already.
He reads the water looking for signs of a pack of bighead below. The goal, net as many of this marauding threat as fast as possible. Orion knows these fish spook easily. They fly into the air at the first sign of noise and commotion, a fight-or-flight stress response that can dangerously injure fishermen. Skittish Asian carp scatter fast. Moving carefully, the boats will have to hit the right spot at the right moment.
You gotta be real aggressive when you see them. I mean, you can't sit here and talk and tell, you know. You gotta get right with it, get around them and get them shut off, or they're gone. You say, well, I thought there was a bunch of fish there. Well, there was. But then they beat you.
Orion picks a spot in the middle of the river.
That's where they're at right here. Get ready.
The boats start dropping over 27,000 meters of net. Spreading out, they make their way towards shore, covering the river's entire width. But now, Orion's crew tries to gather the carp using one of the most primitive fishing techniques on Earth, noise. What the men are about to raise in their nets may be proof of a threat far greater than any fisherman's livelihood. An eco-disaster, a raging river invader breeding out of control. Chillicothe, Illinois, 225 kilometers from the Great Lakes. Fisherman Orion Briney and his team are on the hunt for an invasive Asian carp menace, the bighead. Now, with nets strategically placed across the width of the Illinois River, it's time to raise hell, literally. To herd the fish towards them, the crew stomps and bangs the boat's aluminum hulls. Beneath the waters, the distressed fish pick up the vibrations through organs that run along their sides, called neuromasts. Interpreting the vibrations as a predator on the hunt, fleeing bigheads swim straight for the nets.
They're very smart. Once they hear a noise, they're taking off. We run back and forth and try to bring them into a big school and herd them down, force them into the net.
Meter by meter, Orion's crew pulls up bursting nets. Now, to get the fish to market, it's a race against the sun's baking heat.
How we doing up here? How many we got left? A fish this size will hurt you. Fish this size will probably put you in the hospital if you go up the river and break something.